it's Emma here, the Bookish Princess. It's a very chilly, rainy fall day. Maybe you can hear the raindrops falling because I have the window open right here. So I thought it'd be the perfect time to cozy up with a few books and fill you guys in on what I have been reading. This is going to be a September reading wrap-up and a little bit into October. The You Readathon has begun. I posted my announcement video a couple of weeks ago. I've been hosting the You Readathon for the past couple of years. It's basically just an excuse to work some Disney magic and Halloween fun into your reading. If you want to hear about my TBR for that, I'll make sure I link the video up above. But first of all, I feel like I should go back in time to tell you about how my September reading went. I did order the sequels to Dune. My brothers and I reacted to the new Dune trailer because there's a new Dune movie coming out. So I already had the first 3 Dune books, Dune, Dune Messiah, and Children of Dune. I really love these covers, so I decided to add the other 3 to my shelf. They are Chapter House Dune, Heretics of Dune, and this is actually the 4th one that I'm reading now, God, Emperor of Dune. Yes, there's my Dune stack. They look pretty great, all stacked. There's kind of a running joke or running debate in my family about the sequels of Dune because we all really like the original. I think the original first book is the best. But then as you get into the sequels, like the story kind of gets crazier, and some of my family members love the sequels. Other members of my family hate the sequels. When my dad saw that I had God Emperor of Dune on the table, he said, "You paid money for this?" My brother Athos actually read the first Dune book for the very first time this year, and we posted a discussion video about it, and we were talking about in that how part of the appeal of Dune is that it's this crazy, science fiction universe, and these crazy sort of magical things are happening, but like the characters are taking them super seriously, and it's like they have these scientific explanations kind of under the surface. They're not like explicitly stated, but even though it's magical, it's also sort of very realistic. I think Frank Herbert does a really great job of like walking that fine line of giving you just enough detail but not too much detail. So like there's still a lot that you kind of have to fill in your mind, or a lot that you're curious about, a lot that keeps you reading and keeps you intrigued. But obviously as you get further and further into the sequels, you're getting more and more details, and so in a way it's like some of that magic is spoiled because he's making things clear and explicit that before were just sort of mysterious. See, I'm trying to decide how I feel about the Dune sequels, like which side of the debate am I on. God Emperor of Dune is the 4th book in the series. Obviously you've progressed quite a ways in this universe, in this timeline. Like literally this takes place like 3,000 years after the first Dune, so naturally there are going to be some spoilers. So if you are planning to read the sequels of Dune, I would skip ahead because I don't want to spoil anything for you. I haven't finished reading God Emperor of Dune yet. I'm about 200 pages in. The other 2 sequels, Dune Messiah and Children of Dune, still take place basically within Paul's lifetime, so there's not quite such a time difference. I really liked Dune Messiah. Children of Dune is where they lost me. So Paul Atreides has 2 children, 2 twins, Leto and Ganima. So the way Children of Dune ends, I already gave you a spoiler warning, is that Leto decides to accept this like sort of fate that his father Paul had seen but had not been willing to kind of step up to. Leto ends up basically becoming a sandworm. He like kind of puts the sand fish, the sand trout, I'm not explaining this right, I'm not sure this can be explained right, onto his skin, and he sort of metamorphosizes. That actually wasn't the part that lost me though. It was at the very end when Leto literally takes Aaliyah and is whipping her around his head and then like throws her out a window. That was the part when I was like, I can see why the Dune sequels got this reputation in my household. So anyway, God Emperor of Dune picks up 3,000 years into the future. Because Leto has kind of become a sandworm, he has had his life miraculously extended, and Dune, which used to be a desert, is now like a completely lush green paradise, but the sandworms needed the desert to live and to produce the spice. So like there's kind of this worry that the spice is running out and everyone is hoarding the spice. There are a lot of really interesting ideas and concepts that come up. Like it's very philosophical, ruminations on government, on politics and religion and history. It's just very thought-provoking, which I enjoyed. The fact that Leto is kind of a giant sandworm, is like difficult to swallow. But for the most part, God Emperor of Dune is kind of winning me back over bit by bit. I really like the character of Mineo. He is also an Atreides, and he's kind of Leto's right-hand man. And Mineo's daughter, Sienna, is apparently the key to this golden path. See, there are still some mysteries. The golden path is what Leto sort of foresaw, because Paul, Muad'Dib, and Leto both have these really amazing prescient powers where they can kind of see into the future. And of course, Leto can also see back into the past, because all of his ancestors within him are awakened. He can like hear them and access their memories, and in a way has to like control them so that his own consciousness stays in the driver's seat, because Leto has been living for 3,000 years and also has like the memories going back thousands and thousands and thousands of years even before his own lifetime, because he can, you know, access all of his ancestors' memories. There is this sort of like weariness to him. I mean, you can imagine the world weariness after having existed 3,000 years and like having all that knowledge of humanity within you. And yet he's also got this sort of love of life and like humanity, because I think the golden path is like meant to save the human race. Like without the golden path, humans across the galaxy would die out, I think, is kind of the implication. Here's one kind of thought-provoking conversation between Leto and Mineo. "For what do you hunger, Lord?" Mineo ventured. "For a humankind which can make truly long-term decisions. Do you know the key to that ability, Mineo?" "You have said it many times, Lord. It is the ability to change your mind." "Change, yes. And do you know what I mean by long-term?" "For you it must be measured in millennia, Lord." "Mineo, even my thousands of years are but a puny blip against infinity." So yes, I have been enjoying God Emperor of Dune. I'm interested to see where exactly it's going, where the golden path is going, because there are 2 more sequels after this one. I don't know how much progress I will make on it in October, since I have a whole bunch of other books that I need to read for Booty. That's kind of how my September reading has been, though. It's been sort of sporadic. Like, I'll pick up one thing, read it for a while, put it down, decide I don't feel like reading that, try reading something else. I started reading a P.G. Wodehouse, Uncle Dynamite. Uncle Dynamite is Lord Ickenham, and I read, what was it called? Spring Magic? I read another Lord Ickenham novel not too long ago, but I feel like you have to be in the right mood for Lord Ickenham, because he's not exactly a restful hero, you know? His nephew, Pongo, will tell you about that day at the dog races. And I don't know, I was just feeling stressed about other stuff, and it was like, I can't take Lord Ickenham's shenanigans right now. But I was feeling like some P.G. Wodehouse, so I instead picked up some Jeeves and Wooster. See, Bertie Wooster. Lord Ickenham is much more adventurous. Bertie Wooster is more of a calm soul, you know. He enjoys the simple things. He enjoys his eggs and bacon every morning. The breakfast descriptions in Jeeves and Bertie are just the best. It was with a merry cry that I greeted Jeeves as he brought in the coffee and kippers. "Odds bodikins, Jeeves," I said. "I am in a rare fettle this a.m. Talk about exulting in my youth. I feel up and doing with a heart for any fate, as Tennyson says. Longfellow, sir. Or, if you prefer it, Longfellow." One book I did get through this month was Miss Bunkle's book by D.E. Stevenson. If you've been watching my past reading vlogs and reading wrap-ups this year, you'll know I've read quite a bit of D.E. Stevenson. I feel like she's just sort of good for the soul, like comfort reading. When you're feeling stressed out, her world is just restful and peaceful, but still with an interesting plot and interesting characters. Miss Bunkle's book might be my favorite D.E. Stevenson. It's hard to say, because I really like all of hers, but somehow Miss Bunkle's book is like the first one I think of when I think of D.E. Stevenson. The plotline of Miss Bunkle's book is that Barbara Bunkle, who lives in a quiet village in England, writes a story about all of the people in her village, and she describes them like with complete accuracy. Her publisher at one point says that it's like a photograph, not a painting, and like she doesn't mean to be cruel or unkind, but she describes them exactly as they are with all of their faults and failings. And the book ends up being published, and all the villagers recognize themselves and are not pleased to see themselves as they really are. And then we come to the second book in the series. The title of the second book is a spoiler. There's no getting around this spoiler. But the title of the second book is Miss Bunkle Married. So she moves out of the village where life has become unpleasant because all the villagers are angry with her for writing this book. She moves to another really charming village where there are new characters to get to know, and she buys a beautiful old house and redoes it. If you're looking for something restful and soothing, I would highly recommend Miss Bunkle and Miss Bunkle's book. And actually, there are 2 other books with Miss Bunkle. One is The Two Mrs. Abbotts, and then there's also The Four Graces, which isn't really about Miss Bunkle, but she is sort of a adjunct character. She makes a guest appearance. So I've been doing a lot of Kindle reading. What else did I read this month? Oh, this was one of the ones I didn't finish, although I feel like I kind of have an excuse because it's so long. I did start The Diary of Saint Faustina, Divine Mercy in My Soul. Saint Faustina's Saint Day was at the beginning of October, so it just passed. If you've ever seen the Divine Mercy painting, which is of Christ, and he has like a white and blue and red rays radiating out from his heart, and like at the bottom it says, Jesus, I trust in you. You'll often see it in churches. That came from a vision Saint Faustina had. She didn't paint it herself, but Christ came to her in a vision and said, look, I want this painting. She had many visions of Christ, and Christ would tell her things, and so she wrote them all down in this diary, along with lots of observations and a little bit about her life. It's not really chronological. Like, she does tell a little bit of her story of how she, entered the convent, but a lot of it is just kind of spiritual reflections rather than like a, journal where it's like date by date by date. She talks a lot about how suffering should not be feared and that God is actually with you even while you're suffering. In fact, at one point she talks about how she was going through a really difficult time and she felt like God wasn't there, like God wasn't pleased with her, but later she realized that even through all of that, God was like secretly on her side. He was secretly there with her. It is not for the success of a work, but for the suffering that I give reward. I just thought a lot of her reflections were very timely because obviously right now in the world, there's a lot of suffering and stress going around. So St. Faustina's reminder to trust in God and trust that He is there, maybe secretly, and also God knows what you're capable of and He won't push you further than you can go. Here was another quote I liked. O Divine Master, what happens in my soul is your work alone. You, O Lord, are not afraid to place the soul on the edge of a terrible precipice where it stands, alarmed and filled with fright, and then you call it back again to yourself. These are your imponderable mysteries. Her point is, like, God wouldn't leave you there standing on the cliffside unless He knew you could handle it. So St. Faustina's diary is like 600 pages, I think, if you have the printed version. The Kindle book, which has fairly small type, is 445. But I have quite a bit further to go in St. Faustina's diary. It is fairly heavy, like fairly dense. Since it doesn't have a chronological order or like a sort of story that you're following, it is a little bit harder to keep yourself motivated. I liked it when she did give more kind of concrete examples or events that she remembered. She was mentioning how in the convent, one of her least favorite chores was washing the potatoes. Like, she hated washing the potatoes, and there was like a big giant, pan of potatoes that she would have to wash, and like at first she would try to avoid it, but then she realized, well, that's not right. And she prayed to God about it and was like, I'm sorry that I really don't like doing this. I know I should just accept it as a task that, even though it's small, can give glory to you. And so she would start to like try to be the one to wash the potatoes instead of avoiding it. And she was saying that one day she looked in the pot of potatoes and she saw a pot of roses, which I just thought was such a beautiful image. Another book that I am again part way through is called Resilient: How to Grow an Unshakable Core of Calm, Strength, and Happiness. It's by Rick Hansen, PhD. I definitely have a hard time kind of turning off the worries sometimes. And this book is about how to be resilient, how to kind of turn off the worries and like get through difficult times. A lot of it is just kind of common sense and good tips to like help you stay grounded, to make sure your mind doesn't go like wandering off into 1,000 anxieties, but just stays focused on like what you have and like things to be grateful for and small pleasures that you can enjoy every day. I've just found the lessons in this book to be a good reminder to kind of hold on to the joy in front of you, the sound of the raindrops, or enjoying a hot cup of coffee, like just refocusing your mind on what's here and now and reminding yourself that whatever is to come, you can deal with it. I feel like I have this one hair that just will not sit right. BTS had a online concert, live concert this past weekend, which was super impressive. But during the like ending comments from the members, J-Hope had this like cowlick that wouldn't sit right, and Jimin came and fixed it for him. So I need Jimin to like come and fix my hair right now. I'm wearing my Jungkook fringe sweater. It's inspired by an outfit Jungkook wore. See, I've been sitting in front of you guys all this time, so you haven't been able to enjoy the back of this sweater, which is the best part. Yes, BTS have definitely helped kind of boost my spirits and give me things to look forward to this fall. Another thing that has been super fun this fall has been Animal Crossing. There are so many cute fall Halloween things. I'm thinking of doing a Emma's Not So Scary Halloween Party Animal Crossing edition on my island. So if you play New Horizons, make sure you're following me on Instagram, because I'll probably post on my Insta story maybe this weekend? I don't know. I should probably pick a date for that, actually. One thing I have picked a date for is I thought it'd be really fun to do a Booty Readathon live stream this year. I did some live stream book clubs earlier in the spring that were super fun. Halloween is a Saturday, so I thought, well, why not do it on Halloween? We're gonna do it Saturday afternoon. It'll be at 3 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be a motivation for me to work through my Booty Readathon TBR, and I figured it'd be fun to chat with you guys, hopefully hear what you've been reading for Booty You. There have been so many awesome Instagram posts, and other people have posted videos talking about their TBRs. Here, shall I give you guys a quick look at my Halloween decorations? I have some pumpkins and a little ghost over here. I got these at Target last year. Lots of leaves, more pumpkins, BTS and Belle, and a little witch hat. Yes, I added some pumpkins to my BTS shelf. I'm planning to do a BTS collection, BTS shelf tour sometime soon, which should be fun. Added some Halloween cards to my little wall here. Just pumpkins. So yesterday was rainy, but today is such a beautiful blue sky day. I thought we would come out and I could tell you about what I've been reading in October for the Booty Readathon. I have made some progress in my TBR. So this year the challenge for the Booty Readathon is pretty simple. You just have to read a book inspired by a character who you'll find at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So I had some Fantasyland characters and some Haunted Mansion characters were kind of my main picks. I decided to read The Little Mermaid for Ariel and also The Phantom of the Opera for Gaston. The Phantom of the Opera is by Gaston Leroux. It's also French, so you know, that ties in Belle's Gaston. I am about halfway through The Phantom of the Opera. I'm really enjoying it so far. The Phantom of the Opera is also known as the Opera Ghost, so this has been some excellent Halloween reading. You're not sure who the Opera Ghost is. I still don't know who exactly he is or how he got to the opera. Let's see what quotes I marked for Phantom of the Opera. None will ever be a true Parisian who has not learned to wear a mask of gaiety over his sorrows and one of sadness, boredom, or indifference over his inward joy. I liked this description of a bonnet that one of the characters was wearing. The two black feathers of the dull bonnet, which usually affected the attitude of two interrogation notes, changed to two exclamation notes because she's surprised. Yes, there is definitely intrigue and excitement, and just tapping through the pages, you frequently come across like all caps. The emotion cannot be contained in normal lowercase letters. It is like all uppercase sentences. So I'm very excited to finish that up. I did just download 101 Dalmatians and I started on that, which is by Dodie Smith. Gotta get a Disney villain in my character list, so interesting to get to know the original Cruella de Vil. I have finished The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen. I'd never read this before. It's been on my list for ages, so it was really fun to experience it for myself. I really liked it. It was so evocative, like just the descriptions of Ariel's kingdom. I don't think her name is Ariel, actually. I don't think she's ever named. She's just the Little Mermaid throughout the whole thing. Her sisters have more of a role in the story, and it made me wish that they'd included the sisters a little bit more in the movie, because we really only see them a bit at the beginning, and I feel like they get They get more screen time, more page time in the Hans Christian Andersen story. In the story, we also meet the Little Mermaid's grandmother. She's another person who just got written out of the Disney movie. You get a lot of interesting factoids, Hans Christian Andersen's facts about mermaids. We sometimes live to 300 years, but when we cease to exist here, we only become the foam on the surface of the water, and we have not even a grave down here of those we love. We have not immortal souls, we shall never live again, but like the green seaweed, when once it has been cut off, we can never flourish more. Human beings, on the contrary, have a soul which lives forever, lives after the body has been turned to dust. It rises up through the clear, pure air beyond the glittering stars. As we rise out of the water and behold all the land of the earth, so do they rise to unknown and glorious regions, which we shall never see. Mermaids apparently also cannot cry, and they suffer more because of it. This is definitely a true fairy tale with an element of otherworldliness to it. The descriptions were just so beautiful. Far out in the ocean, where the water is as blue as the prettiest cornflower and as clear as crystal, it is very, very deep. So deep indeed that no cable could fathom it. Fathoms below. Many church steeples piled one upon another would not reach from the ground beneath to the surface of the water above. There dwell the Sea King and his subjects. In the deepest spot of all stands the castle of the Sea King. Its walls are built of coral, and the long Gothic windows are of the clearest amber. The roof is formed of shells that open and close as the water flows over them. Their appearance is very beautiful, for in each lies a glittering pearl, which would be fit for the diadem of a queen. I was not expecting the ending, but I actually liked it, and I felt like it fit kind of the tone of this story. It was a very quick read. I think I read it in one evening. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's fall reading vlog. Make sure you stay tuned for the 31st for our Voo to You live stream. If you're participating in the readathon, I would love to hear how it's going for you. Definitely leave me a comment down below and let me know what you've been reading this autumn. If you're not yet, make sure you're subscribed, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.